Hello, it's Blockchain here coming at you with another technical analysis update. For those of you just tuning in, I'm primarily an Elliott Wave trader using other areas of Confluence and other technical analysis to really complement my price analysis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the charts. All right, guys. This one is going to be specifically for Bitcoin. I did do a ETH prior to this, but it was 27 minutes long, and I figured you guys did not want an hour to go through, so I broke it up today. Did one video specifically for ETH, this one's going to be specifically here for Bitcoin. But before I dive in, I do want to highlight again, I'm constantly making updates to the website, so if you guys have not gone on yet, make sure you jump on blockchaintatrading.com. You can actually get a free video walkthrough of my #1 trading strategy. You can do it two ways. One, scroll on down, hit the get in touch button, and I'll send you basically it'll take you to another page. Submit your email address, your names and info, and it comes to me. I'll send you a video walkthrough, or come up here, create a profile, and once you go to it, it'll actually give you a little drop down menu. Hit the members exclusive, and it'll take you over here to the page where you can actually go through and watch it right then and there. So a couple different things. Also, I'm going to be uploading new content to it, so that way, again, trying to make it more user friendly, get everything in one place, but it is a work in progress, but it is up and live. Also want to highlight as well, right here under the services, I am an elite trader in the New Wave Traders Discord. It is a paid Discord. It's $25 a month, which is a steal of a value in my opinion. There's also, you can do a yearly subscription for $147, which is actually half price, versus paying it for the entire year. It'd be about $294 for an entire year if you did month to month. Prices will be going up just because there's so much value in there already, but prices will be increasing soon, so make sure you guys jump in and take advantage of the low prices now. I'll take you through a couple of different things here in just a second for the Discord. I also want to highlight the Crypto Hippo, aka Shiler, is going, actually not going, but he did launch his Elliott Wave Masterclass. It is $97 for a special launch price value currently. And as something that I have gone through, Elliott Wave for me has kind of been the missing puzzle piece from my trading strategy. So for those of you guys who have seen my content before, primarily an Elliott Wave trader, but I do use other areas of Confluence for my technical analysis and price analysis to really kind of look for what's going to give me the best target. So make sure you guys jump on, invest in yourself, go through this. Tons of value. It has a bunch of other stuff that's included with it. It's actually valued at just over $4,000. So as a great piece of information that I highly suggest you guys go through. So let's actually go into the Discord real quick, just so you guys can see some things that are in there. So there's actually right here some education courses that just gives a lot of information around the crypto market, trading strategies, intermediate, advanced trading, just general crypto chat. Where a bunch of the members, we have actually over 1,000 members that are in here. Post charts, post feedback, post our thoughts, communicate, elaborate as a awesome community. There's actually a special shout out to let's see, it was Danny. Who else was Blue? Yep, gave me some thanks for some of the profit they took on my ETH charts that I posted last night. But I am able to get in here a lot more frequently, and I'm a lot more active than I am versus anywhere else, just because I can, this is instant, where I can post thoughts, feedback, comments, answer questions, so on and so forth. But right here is a whole bunch of our elite traders. So we actually have the Crypto Hippo, reposts his TA, a lot of great information, his YouTube videos. Dragonfly is also an Elliott Wave trader. Myself, Odie, who is a again full-time professional trader. His charts, the same thing with Upland and his trading strategies and his signals that he does as well. We also have the signals specifically for take profits and risk management, on different altcoins as well as Bitcoin. You can see we have Dash, ZEC, One, a lot of good stuff in here, and then just overall just general questions. Where a lot of the members can post their questions and from the chart and see what our thoughts are on some of the ones that they have as well. So a lot of good info in here, guys. Again, like I said, prices will be going up soon, so make sure you guys take advantage of the $25 a month that it is at currently. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into some Bitcoin, shall we? All right, just a little bit bigger here. All right, so at a pretty interesting point right now, in my opinion, here for where we are on Bitcoin. So this is the daily. I always start looking at the macro, then I dive into a little bit smaller time frame. Look at the weekly, the daily, and then sometimes the 12-hour, but for sure the 4-hour, and then really 15-minute from there. So overall, my thoughts on this, from those of you who see my content before, I was looking at this originally as a wave 4 for an impulsive wave down. Gone up too high to be a wave 4, but it does still look that it is corrective in my opinion. So let me get this guy off of here. So a couple of things that I'm looking for overall from the move down. Is one, where does the overall retrace come to? Let's see, so we passed the 786. This is going to be our next stop. The way is the 0.886. Excuse me. But kind of right in the middle of where we are. And it's also interesting to see if you flip it to log scale, which generally when dealing with multi-$1,000 moves, flip it to log scale is how a lot of the traders will look at it. You can see where we're right here at the 886, hit it a couple times. So it's one thing to keep in mind that on linear we are kind of in the middle of the two. Flip it to log, and we are right at the 886. So it's also interesting to kind of see, at the very top for a 1-to-1 extension, 10,470, which is 10,400 on linear. Right there, 10,480. So right there in that same ballpark from the 1-to-1, but it does play a difference on where these other fibs do line up. Looking at a couple of different indicators, we do have the Stokes that actually just did curl right back up. And what's also interesting here on the daily is if you look at the RSI, where we broke out of the volume band here, and we've actually just been bouncing on it this entire way up, which is pretty bullish, and it does tend to do that in bullish turns. But if you look at the Constance Brown Index, we did break this first EMA versus bouncing on it, which is showing a little bit of signs of weakness. So what I'm looking at from a daily perspective, from as far as EMAs and everything go on the daily, we are pretty cleared. We did break through a lot of the EMAs and MAs that we had going that were right here below us, where we kind of found some resistance, blasted through with a lot of power and conviction right here, and kind of got us up here in some clean space. We dive over here. Oops, let me turn this guy off. To the Gann chart, you can see we're riding this 45-degree line. If we do ride it all the way up here to the top, that is actually right at 10,000. We'll kind of, in my opinion, we'll dance around a little bit before then. We normally just don't ride a line like this forever. You kind of see here on this dip down, we did kind of bounced around, but we did ride the line overall for the most part. So I would expect a few pumps, a couple of dumps to get us up here. But right up here at that $10,000 mark is also right there at the looks like the 0.5 EMA on the Gann chart as well. So $10,000 is kind of just an area of confluence for what we are or is what I'm personally looking at as we continue to move up, because there's some of these other indicators look like they have reset a little bit, but we also have the all-powerful Bitcoin halving, which is right here on May 12th. That's what this purple line is, and I think that has been playing a lot of I guess an important role of the overall dominance for Bitcoin versus some of the alts. As I mentioned before, for my ETH video, if you look at ETH, we've been declining on ETH. We've been making lower highs, and it's been losing power and looking a little bearish versus Bitcoin. It has continued to climb up. It's actually doing the exact opposite. So, for the daily, it's kind of just overall what I'm looking at. Honestly, what we normally do is we find a channel and we bounce around in it, kind of like how we did here, or we find a trend line on the daily and we tend to ride it for the most part unless we get a pretty massive move. So example, we rode this line the entire way down and we got a massive move, dropped to this one, found our support, and kind of bounced around in this channel, and now we're up here. So I'm thinking we're gonna ride this line, get back up here to 10,000. This is 0.5 fib of our all-time high. And see a reaction there, in my opinion. Ultimately, we may end up getting rejected and ultimately get some downside. So I am looking to have some downside in the somewhat of a near-term future. And let's kind of see if we can look at a couple different other things to give us some confluence. So a couple things that are going to determine that is going to be one is, does our move up start here or does it start here? Because this is a completed 5-wave move down. It either ended here or ended here for a truncated fifth. So if it ended here, then we have a 3-wave move right here, which means this whole thing is going to be corrective. It cannot be impulsive if we have a 3-wave move. Versus if it starts here, we have a 5-wave move in here that could ultimately kick us off impulsive. However, there's a couple things that I don't exactly like at that one. So let's look at see what it could potentially be. So if this is a 5-wave move where we started, so if it starts with 5, it needs to end with 5, right? So a couple things. So even if this does start with 5, we can have an ABC zigzag, which is again a 3-wave move, 1, 2, 3. Or if it starts with 5, it could be an impulsive wave. So extreme extends from a ABC flat or extended flat is the 1.618, which is oddly enough right here at the $10,000 mark, which would, if it is an ABC for a 3-wave move, 1, 2, and if we get up to the $10,000 mark, boom, right there, the 1.618. Which means that this would be right here. This would have to be a 1, 2, and then this would end up being the 3, 4, and a 5 with a 5-wave move right here. Another piece that we could potentially be looking at as well is, if this whole thing is corrective, then this would be a 1, 2, 3, come back down for the 4th, and then up for the 5th, ending at about 11,500. Change the color so we can see that a little bit better for that particular move, because there needs to be a 5-wave move inside of wave 3. So that is one potential play that we could be looking at as well. So, and 4th waves, I mean, they can, if this is a wave 1, can come down fairly close to it. It can't go into that territory. But generally it doesn't quite drop that far. So that's one thing to look at. So this is the main bull count for what we could be potentially looking at. Or if this is an ABC, if we get up here to 10,000 and we come down with a 5-wave structure, then we know that this is then invalidated, and this 5-wave move to 11,500 is then off the table, because we would need to come down with a 3-wave move. Now it can be, a zigzag with a 535 or just an ABC 335 as well for this 4th wave to come back up. But if it comes down impulsively, then we'll be able to tell right away, and this then goes off the table. But we also have the halving coming up here in a couple of days, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if we do see this continue to pump up until then. And normally what happens is we pump all the way up to the halving, and then we see a pretty massive sell-off right at the halving. So I think that's been a big factor that has been driving price recently, is just we have been coming up to the Bitcoin halving. So that definitely normally does drive a lot of bullishness. Okay. And the other piece that we could be looking at is if this is the 3-wave, at which that point we would change where we pull our fibs from. Should be right here. And this screen count will then go off the table, because you can't start with the 3-wave, but you can start with a 3-wave for an A-wave. So we have 3, and then we would have our B wave, which then generally gets drawn out a little bit further. And then we'd have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5 up. Now, again, a C wave can go all the way up to the 1.618, which is also at 10,000 for this move here. And so, we can't have these stops anywhere in between for the 1.236 as well as the 1.382. So we do have some room where we can go up for this to be corrective, and still get the $10,000. And if this is a 3-wave move, then we will correct pretty decently, come back down, and I would probably say retest somewhere around the $6,000 mark for it to be a 3-wave move up. And then at that point we can hopefully start a true bull run after that. So it just, everything within here, it doesn't look the most impulsive in my opinion. There's like I said in a couple of prior videos, just the overall structures of how things have been forming out has been looking fairly corrective instead of impulsive, and that's kind of been the biggest concern for this continuing on to get up to $11,000, $12,000 up here. So I think we are coming up fairly, and I think we can ultimately test the $10,000 range here in the fairly near future. Looking at some of the daily pieces, again, we have been bouncing off of these volume bands on the daily, and we have yet to have any kind of major crosses into some bearish territory, except right here on the Constance Brown Index. But this is actually forming some bullish divergence between this point low and this point low as well. And you can see it's starting to curl back up and come out of the faster moving EMA that's on there. Stokes also curled back up, bounced a little bit on the bullish control zone. So we are looking fairly bullish right now in my opinion, and I am expecting to see a little bit more higher highs. But ultimately, with a further correction, in my opinion, it's going to take us somewhere down around $7,000, $6,000 range. But at some point, it's probably going to be after the halving, some point mid to late May roughly, and my opinion. So let's look at the 4-hour. Dive into Bitcoin chart here. What are some of the smaller time frames telling us? So a little bit messier, but again, we want to try and look at a couple different counts, and this can again be overall an ABC where we have the 3-wave move, or a WXY XZ as well for a complex correction. This is what I'm saying before. Normally we won't see a wave 3 be quite this drawn out in an impulsive wave up. Generally, our wave 3 is going to be the steepest, most aggressive, and that's been, my biggest area of concern for this overall move. You can kind of see right here we've been playing around roughly um, with the volume band here. We have found a lot of resistance here, but being that we broke right through it, we broke through it with quite a bit of power, honestly, to get up there. So again, looking around $10,000, still lines up for a WXYXE, ABC, as well as a potential wave 3. So there's a lot of counts right now that get us up to that $10,000 from where we are versus what we've had on some price action. Looking at the 4-hour, we did reach the top of the volume band. We did find some resistance, but we'll probably come back down, test some of the EMAs that we have here for the slow and the fast EMAs, probably bounce off of that. And, realistically, I'll look at on the smaller time frame on the 15-minute, but this could potentially be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for this fifth wave to get up here to around $10,000, and that can be happening here fairly soon, in my opinion, for what we're looking at. We haven't exactly formed any kind of major bearish divergence yet, but if we get up here to the $10,000, right here is what I'm going to be looking at, where we do normally see our bearish divergence between our wave 3 and our wave 5, meaning that our price action is going to be higher, and our RSI and the Consensus Brown Index is going to be lower. So that is what I will be looking for as this move plays out, to look at this particular area here. Probably drop some shorts, because either way, in my opinion, we're going to hit that, and then we're going to get some kind of rejection, some kind of pullback. Just because if you go back at the history, where we are currently, we're in a decent amount of I guess some resistance and support zone. Let me clear this up a little bit here. So we can see right here, resistance, support, resistance, support. Even up here, once we get the $10,000, where this whole area was resistance before. Let's see, 10,000, we got rejected here. It was pretty heavy support up here. So this whole zone has been a pretty critical role in the past few months from Bitcoin. So be interesting to see, but being that we didn't get a hard rejection when we pumped up to 9,200, is making me lean a little bit more on the bullish side to get upwards towards the $10,000 range. Okay. Let's look at the 4-hour on the Gann chart. All right, so let's see. 12th right here, that would be our halving mark. Again, we found this line right here. We've been riding up for this pretty heavy pump up. We do have an intersection right here. We'll find some resistance again right around $10,000. So I'd expect us to really kind of follow this trend line up, which would be, oddly enough, pretty coincidental. May 12th is where these meet, which is the halving date, and what I'm expecting is to have a little bit of a rejection here, potentially a hard rejection, that would send us off a little bit more to the downside. So again, pretty decent confluence from a lot of these different areas of technical analysis to get to $10,000 and to see a rejection, or expect somewhat of a rejection at 10,000. And we'll see ultimately what that turns into, whether it's a 5-wave move down or it's a 3-wave move, or we kind of trail sideways for a little bit and then BART back down, or we even seen before, we reach our highs and we have these massive corrections ultimately before we decide to go one way or the other. Ultimately, that's going to help decide if that's going to be a wave 4 and we can continue on for a wave 5, or if it's going to be a harder rejection, come back down, reset towards the $6,000 range, and then go from there. So pretty interesting stuff. So let's look at the 15-minute, where we're looking at a little bit more of the most recent price action. What I was talking about before when I was looking at ETH, if you look at how, look at how just bearish ETH has been as compared to Bitcoin recently. Bitcoin's coming up, testing its highs, while ETH has, just been making lower highs over and over again, which is pretty interesting to see. But as we look at Bitcoin here, this right here, it looks to be a 5-wave move in my opinion versus ETH. It did not, but even pulling the fibs, if that was a wave 1, it played out, perfectly. Oops, let me get this down a little bit. Matched up perfectly for this to be there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're 5, with a 3-wave move down, starting up with another 5-wave impulsive wave to the upside. But that's a clean start, and that was kind of our indication that we were going to have some further continuation. So if that is your wave 1, let's look at this. All right, so we'll pull our fibs right there. Okay, so this will be our wave 1, and then this will be our 3. So 1, 2, 3 will take us up to here, roughly. Come back down for a 4th, and then oddly enough, weird, $10,000 is again where we can expect this move to roughly finish off for Bitcoin. So it's pretty interesting how Elliott wave you're kind of able to see pretty well in advance what some of the expected moves will be, and everything I look at is just $10,000, $10,000, $10,000 is where we can expect a final move to get up to before getting again more correction to the downside. Even right here, this looks like a pretty standard flat correction. We had our move down for our A, B, C, and then kick off ultimately for a 5-wave move for our wave 5 to get us up to $10,000. So I do expect to get us up there sometime in the fairly near future, over the next couple of days. If we continue to keep this trend. Try and keep somewhat of the same degree. It's like the 9th or the 10th, again, kind of right before the halving, and then we'll kind of see what that looks like. What kind of reaction we get up here at $10,000 is going to be very important, in my opinion, to see what kind of further price action, whether we break it and we can start looking at $11,000, $12,000, $20,000 targets again. Or if it's going to drop back down and we're going to start looking for $7,000, $6,000 targets again. So how we react up here is going to be pretty important. What we could also be potentially looking at for this move, if we don't see full execution up, is this can turn into a B wave. This is our A. I'll move down, come up for the B, and then have a C wave, a little bit further prolonged correction, which would be another 5-wave move down. But being that we had our 5, I would expect another complete the impulsive wave, but it could also turn into just the C wave of this correction here, making this the A, B, and the C to get us up here and create a slightly higher high, and then ultimately back down, and then have our 5-wave move up again after that to get us to 10,000. So another possible scenario if we would just prolong out this correction. So ultimately what I'm looking for, for near-term targets around 9,600, being that we have broken 92 and we've been kind of hanging around there with a hard rejection like we got here. That's fairly bullish in my opinion. We also see some, even on the near term, on the 15-minute targets, where this is fairly typical of a wave 4, which is normally what we see inside of a wave 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. They probably are 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our 5 to get us up to complete the wave 3. Because remember, inside wave 3s, there's 5 waves inside of the wave 3. But this triangle formation that we get is typical for a wave 4. And you can even see how much the RSI has reset. We have our bullish divergence between this point low here and where we are currently for this low. Even we've been creating a higher low. RSI continues to either be flat or reset lower. And that's really what you want to look for. We also have some rooms up, some more room up here at the top of the volume band on the 15-minute, as we are down here already kind of getting squeezed between the EMAs within the volume band. So I would expect another move up to around 9,600. Honestly, probably sometime here in the near future. To finish off this move that we have going right now. So those are my near-term targets. Again, there is always a bull and a bear scenario, so make sure you manage your risk correctly, and you don't want to give everything back, especially throughout corrections. That can tend to be a pretty common thing where we get these massive moves, and I hear a lot of traders give a lot of their profits back within these corrections, just because they are the hardest to play out, because there's so many more options within the corrections than there are on more of a bullish term, or a bearish term. But remember, guys, the trend is your friend. Right now, the trend has been up. So any kind of short, in my opinion, is going to be looking a little bit more of a scalp, in my opinion. Don't really plan on sitting in shorts until we really get up towards $10,000, and I want to see how we react then, before even jump in for something a little bit longer term. And again, looking for something on just for confirmation. So we'll see what kind of reaction we get right here at around the $96.75 mark, because again, we want to look for some sideways consolidation, a couple of ABC structures, but again, we don't want to come off with a massive 5-wave move with a hard rejection. If we do, then we know that that is going to be the B scenario. We'll have a C wave down, reset a little bit harder for a 5-wave move up. But so far, looks to be on par for potentially kicking off our 5-wave move up to get us up to the $10,000 mark. So again, guys, those are my thoughts. If you like my content, make sure you guys smash the likes, hit the share button, and subscribe. Check out the website, and I do hope to see you guys in the Discord. It's, again, great community. We can't stress that enough, but hope to see you guys in there so we can share some ideas and bounce some ideas off each other. So till then, we'll talk to you guys soon, and enjoy the next video.